welcome to our Academy Day. We are here in Beaver County, in Minersville today. Welcome to those of you who have chosen to join us today and take time out of your day to join the Academy today. We're so glad you're here. And those of you who are here in person, we always love this most. So thank you for being here with us. I'm the Executive Director of Community and Workforce Development at Southern Utah University. FutureReady Utah runs in our office, and I'm here with my team members in person. We operate in partnership with Snow College and Utah Tech University, and our colleagues from those programs are joining us online. And I want to share a little piece of a personal touch point with the program, because I stepped into my position at SUU in September. And one of the first things in my onboarding that my team encouraged me to do was to get to know the FutureReady program from within and to become a part of, to go through the worksite certification program. And it has been just the biggest gift. I cannot imagine another place where I would be able to be taught by my team, onboarded and trained by my team while I am in a leadership role within this team. And I am in the process right now of preparing my final documents for the end of my worksite certification. I'm finishing up I Love It Here, which is the book that we are assigned when we go through the worksite certification process. And I have been overwhelmed every time I open up this document to look at the growth and the specificity that the growth has happened through as a result of working with my teammate, Susan, who's my targeted outreach coordinator and has been consulting and leading me through this process. And then as I have received feedback in real time based on the lessons that I and my team are able to partake in from month to month in this academy process. And then I get that immediate feedback loop from my team, and I get to work with my team then to implement the changes that are coming up from the feedback and the perspectives that are coming from my team. It has been an incredible gift. And those of you who are part of the worksite certification program, I know you're experiencing the same, but I wanted to share that personal touch point that is deeper than just running the program. I am actually in the program and really benefiting personally. I want to make an introduction this morning of our first subject matter expert and our guest who's going to give us our economic spotlight. And it is Commissioner Brandon Yardley, who's been in his position for 2.5 years. I asked him to share a fun fact about him. He said, I had a lot of friends, and then I ran for office and cleaned house a little bit, and so he suggested that he has no friends. But I keep meeting friends of Brandon. So we're so happy to have Commissioner Yardley here, and I'm excited to hear from you, Commissioner Yardley. And I'm going to pass off the microphone to him right now. Just go ahead and clip that on your lapel.
Thank you, Melinda. So that's a glamour shot, and they do a good job. Today you get Farmer Yardley. So before I became commissioner, before I am a commissioner, I'm a 5th generation farmer and rancher in Beaver County. So my family has deep roots here in Beaver County. They asked me, first I want to welcome everybody to Beaver County on behalf of all the Beaver County commissioners. We welcome you. We love the program, helping us with FutureReady and helping the workforce coming up be able to take some of the positions that we need here in the county. So they asked me to talk about what exciting things are going on in Beaver County and what's happening right now. And before I do that, I guess I'm kind of a history nerd. I like to talk about the history and why Beaver County is here. So in 1856, the pioneers came into the Beaver Valley, and they realized clear back then in the dry deserts that we have in Utah, water is key. So when they came into the Beaver Valley, they saw the Beaver River running through the meadows. They knew that was good cattle country. As they kept searching the Beaver River, it comes through Minersville over to Milford, and in Milford they found the minerals in the mountains, the gold, silver, and copper, and they knew it was rich in those elements, and they knew there was a future in mining in Beaver County. And I tell you those things because what they found Beaver County on 170-ish years ago are still things that we utilize today. So those meadows that they found clear back in 1856, cattle are still grazing those meadows today. We're proud to still be have very deep roots in agriculture and also mining. We still have an active copper mine in Milford, and that is very exciting for us to have that mine in Milford. I think we're a little bit unique that the reason we were found and the reason people wanted to be in Beaver County, they're still here today. So that's exciting for us. Obviously, we've added a few things to the county over the last 170 years, but we're like I say, we're still very deep in agriculture and mining, and we found the renewable energy sector as well. In 1980-ish, they developed the first geothermal plant in Beaver County, and it is still operating today. Since then, we've had windmills show up, solar panels, and then Beaver City has 3 active hydro plants that they use. So we have 4 renewable energy sources in the county, and those are going to keep expanding. Kind of the new, fresh one that's going on right now, 10 years or so ago, the University of Utah came down on a research project. They developed the FORGE program, and their main goal was to find the hot granite rocks and see if they could pump water to those hot granite rocks and produce the geothermal energy. Traditional geothermal finds the hot water, and they use just the hot water. But FORGE developed that program. We knew if that was successful, the next step would be to get a production company in to develop that energy and have an active plant in Beaver County. Fervo was the first ones to step up, and they have continued to develop that energy. They've drilled several holes now, and the energy potential in Beaver County is very large. So we are limited by infrastructure on the power lines and how much power we can export out of the county. So that's our limiting source, not the energy we can produce. But it is exciting technology to be able to drill down to 8,500 to 13,000 feet, find the hot granite rocks, and then pump the water into those granite rocks, produce the steam, capture that steam, and then reuse that steam and keep producing that energy. Their first phases, I think there's 2 phases, around 500 megawatts. So we're excited. They are building the generating facility right now. Next year, about this time, they should be close to completion. I think by September, they will be producing power. So we're excited for that. We're excited for the mine. We're excited we've got Dave here with Atcor today. I tell people if they want to do right in Beaver County, follow what Atcor has done. They are not a high demand on the county. They come in, they do their thing. They're about 80-ish employees. Is it 60 employees? And that's perfect for a small rural county. We can't bring a business in that needs 500 employees. We're not able to have that many employees. So these smaller employers that produce a good product, they're a good partner, that's what we're looking for. And I'll just leave with one quick thing. People have asked, what is success? How would you define success in a small rural county? And the biggest crop, or the most important crop we produce, are our kids in these small counties, and we don't want to export those kids. We want those kids to be able to come back to the county, live here if they choose to, and have a future in the county. So kind of my definition of success in a small rural county like ours is if our kids can walk down the street to their friend's house and they pass 6 houses on the way there, and all 6 houses, the neighbors come out and check on the kids, make sure they're okay. That's what success is for a small rural county. So everything else is just kind of stuff, but having those kids and making sure they can come back to the county, that's what we define as success. So thank you again for coming and inviting me to speak, and hopefully I was under my 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got to get rid of this thing.
You can pass that off to me. That was an absolutely perfect economic spotlight in context of Future Ready, because so many of Beaver County's values obviously are rural values, and they're the same values that Future Ready is built upon. So I appreciate that. Our topic today is generational motivation. Last March, we came, I don't remember what county we're in, but we did a Generations at Work topic, and it was probably one of our most popular training sessions last year because everyone has people in their teams and in their communities that they're working with that come from a different generation than they do, right? And one of the hard things about working with people, as much as we care about them, is trying to understand how they tick, because sometimes their motivations are different than ours, or sometimes their values are a little different than ours, or the way that they choose to work, the work cycle that works best for them is a little different than ours. And learning how to navigate those differences is a really important thing. And today we're going to talk specifically about drive, about motivating generations at work. And I want you to think about these kind of 6 ideas. These are the 6 ideas we're going to talk about today. People feeling safe, learning deeply, directing their own process, finding meaning in the work that they do, nurturing relationships, and building teamwork at work. These are the 6 ways that we're going to talk about drive at work. And we have some fantastic subject matter experts here today to introduce to you their experience with the topic about motivating generations at work. And first, like to introduce Dave Mott from Atcor, plant manager, and I'm going to make you put this on your shirt, sir, so we can hear you. And then we'll have Tyler Moss talk to us from Beaver Valley Hospital. When you're done with that, will you hand it to Tyler? Yep. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm Dave Mott. Appreciate the opportunity to come out and speak to everybody today. Atcor is part of a multi-billion-dollar corporation that stems across the world, has over 200 sites. The site that we have here in Milford is ranked in the top tier of the entire company. I started back there 17 years ago as a quality manager, coming from government, law enforcement, and healthcare careers. Identifying different means of what the market is going to need as far as developing your culture. A lot of these things up here you're talking about is diversity, having a culture that they believe in. We did that in our facility by holding people accountable and having them feel safe. When you had injuries at work that had maybe 8 injuries a year, and you focus on what you can do to minimize the potential for injury, and you reward the employees for being safe, giving them even monetary awards to recognize the fact that they're being cognitive about wanting to be safe and looking out safety for others. That was the first thing. Then providing them the skills, the training, so that they can succeed in their positions. Nobody wants to have an employee that comes in and fails and they get low self-esteem or depression, and then their concentration's not there, which could lead to an industrial accident or an injury. We don't want that. So that was the next thing we started working on. We started bringing in lean daily management, like a Toyota manufacturing type of environment, but investing into the employee so that they understood that we want them and their next generations to work for us has made us very successful. Our plant in Milford, not just being the top plant, they utilize a best practice sharing method within the corporation. So I'm normally only home 2 weeks out of the month, and I'm shipped across the country to all the other different facilities, sharing my best practices of what we've done in Milford to help bring up the culture, reduce scrap, increase profitability, and just bringing up a culture that speaks about these things you've had up here before. So other than that, I'm sure that's close to 3 minutes, so if there's any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Who's up next?
Thank you. Toss to Tyler.
Tyler?
And then these folks will be a part of our discussion for the rest of our lesson today. So we're so excited to have their expertise in the room.
Yeah, so my name's Tyler Moss. I'm with Beaver and Milford Hospitals. I'm actually the Chief Financial Officer for both hospitals. Just to give you some quick background, I've been at the hospitals for about 10 years now. And I like to start with a little bit of a joke here. It's be kind to your kids because they choose your nursing home. So, as far as like generational differences, that would be one that you want to keep in mind. So both Beaver and Milford Hospitals, I want to give you some just to help picture this. We have, if anybody that's worked in healthcare, that you might be familiar with this, but if you're not, you face the differences that we have at our hospitals are you have different departments ranging from dietary, housekeeping, laundry, nursing, you've got your providers, you have billers, you have coders, you have all different aspects of skill sets, but then we also have different aspects of the generations, right? So one story for you. I started 10 years ago in 2015 at Beaver Valley Hospital, and I came in super gung-ho, turned a paper process into an electronic process, which was like, I mean, at the time, that's just what we did, right? You turn something to, hey, why are we doing all this paper? Well, little did I know, I actually kind of shot myself in the foot, because then the person who I was replacing they were still working there and had a retirement plan within the next year or two. They couldn't even help me. They were not involved in that process of me changing from paper to digital. And I had lost all of their institutional knowledge, and they couldn't really pass along a lot of information other than just kind of general ideas of, hey, this is what we do as the chief financial officer at the hospitals. I have to look at this, but I lost all of that because I was so gung-ho and focusing on my process, not really thinking about their process. Another story, this is more of a success story. Recently, again, not only do we deal with all these different skill sets, but we deal with a lot of different generations. I have a newer employee at one of the hospitals that I was able to take her drive as a as a Gen Alpha. I mean, they are digital. They've grown up in the digital world. I was actually able to take her to a different generation person that doesn't do digital, and basically go have them be a mentor. That it's a reverse mentor. That's the term that we're using. Reverse mentor, and go that direction and help a department manager learn a new scheduling software. Something that, again, it's a digital process, it's a paper process, and turn it digital. So as far as like our experiences in the hospitals, we're facing things like this every single day in the aspects of, how do we get each generation motivated differently, because they are different. Some have a different purpose. Some might just honestly want the paycheck at the time. Some may want more of a goal-oriented drive. And so as we have navigated those are some of my experiences that I've had over the last 10 years being at Beaver Valley Hospital and Milford Memorial Hospital. Anyway,
Thank you.
There you go.
That's awesome. You can clap for him. Come on, people. Thank you both. That was awesome. Really good introduction to the start of our conversation. So as most of you know, people that are working in the Future Ready program are reading I Love It Here by Clint Pulver. Really motivating, really down-to-earth, real people leadership book that I enjoy very much. Chapters 2 through 8 are totally relevant to today's discussion. So I don't have any one specific recommendation for where you should be reading today, because it's really 2 through 8 in our book. But one of the ideas that I think is really critical, and it's Clint's and it's mine, these are my words summarizing some of his ideas and my own. Resenting your people for what they aren't will not help you develop them into what they can be. So regardless of what generation you are from, if you are working with a person from a different generation or just a different motivation, resenting them because they're not you, because you don't have those things necessarily in common, that's not going to help you. And before we can really dig into how to motivate people across generations, we have to let go of the idea that if they're not like me, I can resent them, and that's okay, right? That's the way we're going to approach that. So just keep that in your head, okay? It doesn't help for us to resent people for what they aren't. I've pulled some of today's content from Dan Pink, really work-based learning researcher and psychology researcher. he talks about 3 types of motivation, and I'm going to work you through those as quickly as I can today because we have dense content. Motivation 1.0 is don't let the saber-toothed tiger eat me, right? It's when you're in survival mode. If your physical safety, you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, you're in danger of losing your home, you are perhaps homeless, or you can't put clothing on your children. This is survival mode. And before we can even talk about generational differences, friends, if you have team members who are in survival mode, they have to get out of survival mode before they're going to be very motivated to do the job. What they are motivated by is the money that it will take for them to keep their family afloat, right? So bar none, the first thing you need to look at in your teams is, are my people okay? You should be caring about that anyway. But let's make sure our people are okay. If they're in survival mode, they're not going to be very motivated. Here are some symptoms for you. And if you're seeing people that are exhibiting some of these symptoms in your team, time to pay attention. Minimal engagement and initiative. They don't take initiative and they're really reactive. They will have a huge increased amount of stress and anxiety. They get overwhelmed really easily. They avoid change and growth. Don't offer them an improvement plan. Don't offer them a development or climb the ladder plan because the idea of just doing one more thing can be too much for them, right? Low accountability and ownership. They want to project blame. They want it to be somebody else's fault. They have a hard time owning their own mistakes. They're coming from a place of fear, really, and they'll be disengaged from the team and culture. Instead of finding their friends at work, they're coming in and they're having a sense of feeling unsafe. Not just physically unsafe, right? But like emotionally unsafe. Like they're so worried about the things that are wrong in their survival mode life that they're not going to be able to engage well in the work that you're doing. Folks in survival mode can do mechanical and menial tasks, especially if they're repetitive. And sometimes they can even find a measure of relief in those tasks because they put their body into a mode and it is a little bit of an escape for them. So those types of tasks can work. They can still work really well in those types of tasks. But with cognitive complexity, problem solving, significant critical thinking, you're going to have problems with a person in survival mode. They won't be able to focus enough on those types of tasks. And some strategies to help are flexibility with clear boundaries. You can't just give them a completely flexible schedule that wrecks the schedule for your team. But you can say, listen, this Friday, if you need to go take care of these things, but you have to give them clear guardrails, right? So a strategy for folks that are in survival mode is think about where you can be flexible without it messing up the rest of the system, but then be really clear about where the boundaries are, okay? You want to have that clarity conversation right up in front. Offering emotional and mental health support. If you are offering benefits, making sure that they know whether they have a teledoc service or whether they have a mental health or counseling service. There are a lot of services now that'll give you like 6 free sessions or sessions that are billed to the company at a discounted cost for a mental health or a crisis event. It doesn't go on forever. It's finite, right? There are boundaries to it, but making sure that they know what their options are is really important because just because they did training on it 2 years ago when they were onboarded and they should know that it's in their benefits package doesn't mean that they do, right? So reminding them of the services that are available to them. And if you are able to offer a benefits package with health insurance, some can and some cannot. We totally understand that. But if you do, that of course is going to help your folks that are in survival mode. And then I want to point out some financial literacy training. So you can have 2 employees making exactly the same amount of money, same qualifications, similar, what you think are similar life circumstances. And what you are paying this person is completely enough for them to be out of survival mode. They're ready to thrive. They have what they need. And this person who's making the same amount of money may be in dire financial straits because of decisions that they've made, history that they have, right? I'm sure that you have seen this happen before. Sometimes, rather than paying them more, what you really need is to help them figure out how to spend their money more wisely. You need to give them a little bit of financial literacy. There are a lot of programs that are either really inexpensive, that are free for workforce. You can work with resources to find those those training programs, but they're basic financial literacy that can help a person who's surviving at the wage that someone else is thriving at to improve their financial choices. And sometimes that's honestly, it's like teaching a man to fish instead of giving him a fish, right? Paying them more isn't always the right answer for a person in survival mode. And we often will want to save our employees that are in survival mode by giving them a little bit of extra, a little bonus, a gift, slipping them $50 under the table or whatever. I have done this, and in retrospect, I realized what they really needed was to learn how to get themselves out of the financial situation that they were in that puts them in survival mode to begin with, okay? And then finally, and this is our mantra, supportive workplace and values, right? A place where they feel emotionally safe, where they feel like they can be honest with you as their supervisor about what's going on. And not that they have to tell you everything that is happening, but they need to be able to feel like you're gonna care that somebody is having a health crisis, or that their vehicle is broken down so they just don't have a way to get them and their wife to work, or whatever, right? So be conscientious of whether your workplace feels supportive. And also, I think it's always important for you to ask good questions. What you perceive as your workplace culture isn't necessarily what all of your employees perceive as your workplace culture. That's why we do teamwork. That is why our registered FutureReady members do teamwork every month. It's anonymous. It goes to their employees. The only thing that we collect from their employees is the name of the business, and then we're able to give you that feedback and that information. And if you're not a member and you're not getting a teamwork report, consider joining, or find another way that you think you can get really true, honest information back from your team about whether your perception of your workplace culture is as supportive as that their perception is as supportive as you think it is, okay? And one more thing, employees who are in survival mode will, against what you might consider rational, they will leave you to go find another job that literally pays 5 cents more per hour, right? And sometimes it boggles the mind because you're like, I'm doing everything that I can to support my team. I'm trying really hard to make this great workplace culture. We're doing all of these programs and it's meaningful work and it's such a great place to be. Why would you leave for 5 cents to a company that maybe doesn't have a great workplace culture, to a company that's maybe temporary, that looks a little iffy and maybe they're not gonna be here a year from now? Why would you do that? And it's because they're in survival mode, right? So that's motivation 1, just survival. Motivation 2.0 is the carrot and stick idea, rewards and punishments, not so much punishments in the workplace, but certainly the reward or incentive system. This was very, very much in play in Taylor's system of factories and conveyor belts and those sorts of things, especially in the 50s is where this emerged, the idea of a performance bonus, right? Now I'm gonna tell you something about rewards-based systems. They work for certain types of tasks, certain jobs, certain teams, and for certain time periods. They do not work as the only motivation method for long-term productivity and success. When they do work, they work when the survival needs are already met, right? Or a person who's in survival mode might really, really be working for that bonus because they think that's gonna pull them out of survival mode, right? But typically, your reward-based systems are gonna work once survival is taken care of, and they're not worried about where their next meal is gonna come from. They work really well for routine or repetitive tasks that you can improve by tiny little degrees, right? Games of inches. You can improve those tasks by rewards-based systems like performance bonuses or competitions within a team, right? Make it fun. Let there be a cash prize or a something at the end that is an external reward-based system, and that actually works pretty well. Short-term performance boosts, if you're just pushing to get right past a deadline that you have coming up quickly, it's temporary, there's a finite end to it. Reward-based systems can work really well for that. And when the work is not super cognitively complex, people are not fantastic problem solvers because you're offering them money to solve the problem. People become fantastic problem solvers because they enjoy solving the problem, because they're puzzlers, right? Because they want to solve the problem. But so for really cognitively complex tasks, a rewards-based system is categorically probably not going to work. Dan Pink wrote this book, Drive. That's where some of this information comes from. In the content that I will publish for our members afterwards, I will embed a 10-minute video by RS Animate. If you're not a member, I recommend that you look it up. RS Animate, Dan Pink, Drive. It's 10 minutes and it explains the whole book. It's fantastic. It's really lovely. So some strategies that can work if you're looking to do some rewards-based systems for short-term gains with your team. A team-based incentive where the team has to work together to earn the reward is typically going to work better for you than like an individual reward-based system. When giving recognition and appreciation. Now that's not a monetary reward, but a lot of us get a big dopamine hit from somebody telling us, hey, you did a great job, thank you. Some people thrive on public praise and some people want you to have that conversation quietly in the hallway where nobody else can hear. You should know the difference, right? But recognize and appreciate your people for the work that they do. That is a short-term rewards-based system that does actually work. It helps people feel seen and it makes them know that they have value in your company. And then advancement opportunities are technically, there should be, if they're advancing, they should have a pay raise when they advance, right? So that's technically a rewards-based system that is earned. And I think that those work as long as the advancement you're offering to a person aligns with their own goals. If you just want to advance them because you need someone in that position, but it doesn't align with their personal goals or values, it's not where they need to go, that's not going to be rewarding for them, okay? And finally, gamification and friendly competition. Really, every once in a while, I love me a good competition, right? And I will win. Yes, I will. You can capture that in a workplace environment as long as you keep it fun and not cutthroat, okay? Don't let it get ugly. But that's a reward system that does work on Motivation 2.0. The majority of what I want to talk to you about today, though, because we really want to dig into the differences between these generations, is Motivation 3.0, which includes a couple of really important ideas. So mastery, autonomy, and purpose all came from Dan Pink's book. Mastery is when you get really good at stuff, and that's rewarding. It feels good to feel competent, to feel like you're at the top of your game. Yes, I was good at my job today. That feels really good. So mastery, being able to advance in your skills. Autonomy is being able to direct your own process. Knowing that you have a certain type of work that you're going to do better in the afternoon than in the morning, or understanding that you want to work collaboratively or that you want to work independently, that you prefer to work by paper or by digital means, right? Being able to have some control over your methods is really important. Stephen Covey said that you really cannot hold a person accountable for their successes, their results, if you micromanage their process, their methods, right? Then it's on you. If you micromanage their methods, it's your fault that they failed, right? So let them manage their own methods and then you can hold them accountable for their results. And finally, purpose. A sense of purpose is the work that we're doing matters to somebody. I feel like I'm making an impact in the world. I'm leaving the world a better place than I was before. And sometimes, we're working in plastics or we're farming or we're working in geothermal energy or we're working in an office and it can be hard to see that impact. As a leader, one of your primary jobs is to help your people understand the impact your work has on the world. They need to be inspired by that. They need to be moved by that and feel good about it. It's about more than the paycheck. I've added two to Dan Pink's work that come mostly from Clint Pulver and my own experience. One is collaboration. Generations work differently collaboratively, and collaboration of the right type for the person you're working with can be very, very motivating. Knowing that they get to work with other people or that they don't have to work with other people, depending on their position and the way that they work. And then a sense of belonging, relational belonging. We had a conversation right before the session began with a couple of folks over here by the door. One of the things that we know in Future Ready, we go into these 11 rural counties. We're in a different county every month. And resoundingly what we find is the best work we will ever do is based on a relationship. Always. The best work we will ever do is based on a relationship. If you come to work and you like the person that you're working next to, the people that you have to work with, you're going to be more motivated. You feel a sense of duty to them to do a good job, to be a good teammate, to be reliable, to be trustworthy, to do quality work. because these folks that you care about also are relying on you, right? That sense of relational belonging is really, really important. If you have an enemy at work, a person who makes your life absolutely miserable, that's not fun. Nobody wants to do that. You don't want to go to work and be like, oh, I'm going to have to talk to Diane today, or whoever the person is, right? We don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable. And so creating or fostering a sense of strong relationships within the workplace is actually really beneficial. As an employer, if your employees have no time to build relationships with one another, if they're constantly being pushed and they have no space for building relationships, you're actually sabotaging your own success, because having them be friends with one another can be very, very motivating, right? So these 5 things are the critical areas that we're going to look at for each generation. And please pipe in here at any time if you have stories or examples to share, okay? So we're going to start with boomers. Along the left-hand side, and I know that this is kind of difficult to read in the room. If you're online right now or you're watching after our event, these materials will all be available, and you should have a copy on your table. So, in terms of mastery, boomers are really interested in legacy roles. They want to feel that they're leaving a legacy for other people. They want to be the expert in their field. And they appreciate the respect that comes with being appreciated for that expertise that they have in their role. They want to ongoingly develop their skill. So far, sometimes it's hard to push them beyond a certain level, but they want to still feel relevant. It's got to be scary to feel that you may become irrelevant, and it's going to happen to all of us at some point, right? But for baby boomers, that fear is probably more real than for your younger staff. So making sure that they feel that they still have relevance is very motivating. As far as autonomy goes, we've talked a little bit about mentorship, and thank you, Tyler, for bringing up that reverse mentorship model. It's really important for you as leaders to not look at your mentorship model in terms of who's older or who has a bigger title, who's higher up on the chain, right? It's really about skill. Your youngest team member can be a great mentor to someone in the middle or on the older scale in your workforce if they have a skill that the others don't have. And think about how lovely it is when we can learn from one another, right? That also will help to build some of those relationships. So mentorship, give a boomer the freedom to mentor others without a lot of heavy oversight. Show them trust. They've earned their stripes. Let them share that with other people. And they do tend to appreciate independent work. Don't force them to collaborate all the time, 24/7, if it's not necessary for the role, because they do like to pull back and work independently. And I'm going to interject right here. I should have led with this. I recognize that these are stereotypes. I do know that. I know that they're kind of labels, and that it's impossible for every label given a generation to fit every single person. Most of the Gen X stereotypes fit me very, very well. Like, really scarily well, frighteningly well. But there are some areas where, I don't appreciate that label. So I'm giving these to you as strategies that you can hopefully employ, knowing that they'll only work if you know your people and you know when you can apply this strategy and when it's not going to work for one of your people, or you're willing to try it and just ask them good questions. Would this feel good to you? Would you hate this? Would this work for you, right? In your mentorship with your employees, always be asking those individual and personal application questions so that you know whether it's hitting right or not. I don't give you stereotypical information so that you can say automatically by looking at you, I know you. I don't have to have a conversation with you. That's unfair and completely unrealistic. So keep mentoring your people. But hopefully these are some strategies that will at least spark ideas for you and maybe help you think about things in a different way. In terms of purpose, boomers will very much appreciate the idea of impact and legacy. It will look different for them than it will for your younger staff, right? So they want to make a lasting impact, and they will want to contribute to company values. They will buy into company values and want to be a part of that. They are interested in community-focused initiatives, things that will build their community, their sense of community. Our sense of community tends to broaden as we age. The community of a 20-year-old is their little group of friends. They're not thinking about John who lives down the block. They're not thinking about their neighbor Mary, right? But as we age, our sphere of influence tends to start to include our community, our local community. And so boomers are going to be very interested in impacting that local community. In terms of relational belonging, they really need respect. They need to feel respected. That's going to be motivating for them. And acknowledging their experience, recognizing that they have earned their stripes and that they do have that institutional knowledge that you accidentally kind of X'd a little bit, right? That probably didn't feel great. And in retrospect, you probably have some ideas of what you might have done differently there, right? To get that mentorship, which would have been really beneficial for you. Thank you for sharing that story. That was fantastic. In terms of social collaboration, I do think it's really important to allow and encourage boomers to engage with all the rest of the generations. We learn so much from one another. But know that sometimes they're going to want to pull back, and that's okay, right? And then involving them in strategic advisory roles, allowing them to have a feeling that they can contribute to the strategy of the company because of their tenure in the company, because of the time that they've put in and their expertise earned, is going to be motivating for them. Okay, moving to Gen X. Skill enhancement. Gen Xers really want to get good at stuff. Mastery is going to be a big deal for Gen Xers. We want to feel that we are an expert at something, right? So any kind of specialized training opportunities, if you find a workshop, like a free workshop that came into your inbox, hey, we're doing this thing on a Saturday and you're going to learn how to, use AI or whatever, share that with your Gen X folks. They'll be interested. They want to upskill, right? They want to peer mentor, but it'll look different. A boomer is going to want to be an expert in a mentor relationship, and sometimes if they're learning, they're still going to want to feel a high level of respect in that type of a relationship. A Gen Xer is going to want equal, lateral mentorship, peer-to-peer, right? It's going to feel more like we're friends, right? We can learn from each other, right? That's how it will feel for them. In terms of autonomy, Gen Xers tend to be pretty independent. They can work collaboratively, but they like a lot of that sense of autonomy and control, how to make their own decisions and things like that. And they don't like micromanagement. I can tell you right now, if somebody tries to micromanage me, I'm going to become a handful. I'm going to be difficult, okay? I don't appreciate that at all. It will create all sorts of emotions in a person like me, and that's it's gonna be ugly. So don't micromanage. Provide tools for independence. If it's a person who needs maybe a little more micromanagement because they're not being effective in their role, then really negotiate what that can look like and give them the tools that they need to get the job done well. In terms of organizational alignment, I think it's important for a Gen Xer to have a solid, concrete, measurable, visible goal. Okay? That's going to give them a sense of purpose. Make sure that they can see what the goal is. It's very transparent. The boundaries are clear, right? That it's not vague or hazy. And then stability and growth. Gen Xers want to feel that there's stability. They want to know that they're still going to have a job. They want to know that things are going to be a certain level of predictable, so they can work within that structure. Relational belonging. Gen Xers like to work in small teams. I'm a great small teams worker. I work in a team of 5 people, and I love my team of 5 people and a team of 4 people, right? But if I had to work in a team of 12 people, I think I would quickly become frustrated by the way that communication pattern works, because I'm just not as good at it, right? I'm not as comfortable that way. So that peer-based mentorship, where you have a team of people with a perception of equality and friendship there, that's going to work really well. And then fostering mutual trust is really important. Respect is still a big deal to Gen Xers. Maybe not quite to the same extent as boomers, but it is a big deal. But we have to have mutual independence. I respect you for doing the job that you do. I recognize your expertise is different than mine. I need to feel your respect for me for the expertise that is my own. Okay? So those smaller, kind of more focused teams with clear, concrete, measurable goals is going to work better for your Gen X team. Gen Y. So structured growth opportunities are going to work really well for them in terms of management. They don't need a pie in the sky goal. They need what's my next. Memorize this question. What's your next? Okay? What is the next thing that you want to accomplish? Let's get you there. Then we'll have another conversation later down the road. What is your next target? So one step at a time, providing growth opportunities and continuous real-time feedback. A millennial is not a person who's going to do well if they have a monthly performance, meeting with you. They're going to want a lot more ongoing feedback, right? They need a weekly check-in, or they need some sort of a feedback cycle where even if they don't have access to you as their leader, they know that you're hearing them and you're providing feedback, if that's an email loop or a Slack line or whatever it is, okay? So a lot more consistent feedback, whereas a Gen Xer, if Melinda came into my office every single day and was like, how are you doing on this project? And where are we on this project? I'd be like, woman, get out of my office. It would drive me nuts, right? But I have younger team members who Slack is going pretty much all day, right? And that doesn't feel weird or icky. It just feels like they're getting their questions answered right at the moment when they need those questions answered, so then they can make forward progress, okay? Flexibility is interesting. Offering remote work options and flexible hours is a good idea for everyone, but some people are going to take advantage of it and some won't. Millennials and Gen Z are going to take advantage of that. It is the world they've grown up in, right? It's like they're going to take advantage of their cell phone. They grew up with it in their pocket. I had to learn how to use one, But flexible, remote, those sorts of things work well for millennials as long as, and let me say this strongly, again, you have very clear boundaries, right? This is where the flexibility ends. This is where we can work within. So yes, you can take 4 hours on Friday and then work an hour late, every day next week, whatever. That works. But no, you can't take every Friday from now till eternity and do this ongoingly, right? You have to have really clear boundaries on the flexibility. And they'll appreciate that. They will appreciate knowing that A, you're being flexible because you care about them, but B, here's the line, okay? Project leadership. Millennials actually make really, really good project leaders because they're innovative. They don't have the exact same boxes that some other folks may have. So they're good at innovative thinking. They're really good at collaborative thinking. They make a really good project leader. They're communicative. They will talk to one another. They'll make sure that people aren't getting left out. So that's a good place to put them, is in some sort of project leadership. Mission alignment. Millennials have a strong sense of social purpose, social justice, equity, right? Those are values that are really strong in that generation. And so those are things that you can lean into. If you're wanting a team that's going to act with diversity, that's going to consider how other people are feeling, not let anybody get left out, consider everyone's voices and input, put a millennial in charge of it. That's where they're going to want to be. And any kind of project that has clear societal goals, when you have a project that has community impact, for example, if you would like your company to have a better connection with their local community, put a millennial in charge of it. They'll make it happen, and it'll be beautiful. They will make really strong, lovely connections with your community, okay? A team-centric culture, team-driven projects and collaboration work really well. They come naturally to most millennials, and really celebrating milestones. So I talked to you about the reward kind of culture being specific to certain types of tasks. For millennials, that recognition, that I appreciate you, I see you, thank you for doing that thing, and being specific about the thing that you're appreciative about, right? Not just like, hey, you were great today, thanks, rock star. It would be better like, I really appreciated that comment that you made in the meeting because it helped me to see things from a different point of view, right? And tell them specifically what the comment was. Be specific with your feedback and recognition for a millennial. Team building, they're going to want to spend some time building relationships in the workforce, and it is in your best interest to allow that to happen within the boundaries so that everybody's still getting work done, but they need those relationships, friends. You have to allow them to build those relationships. Cross-department networking is something that I have found is magical in our team because we have people all across generations, and our younger team members are so good at cross-departmental. Like, they don't even think about departments as boxes or boundaries, right? Like, I want to talk to somebody in marketing and we have an idea and we're going to develop it together. And they just do. They don't think about those as boundaries. They think about those as opportunities, and they're really good at harnessing the differences in their skills. Gen Z, we're moving fast today. friends. Okay, clear career progression, structured pathways. Like millennials, kind of one step at a time, but they want to know that they're going to be able to climb, and they want to know how far they can climb. They don't have to have all the details right up front, but they're going to want to climb, okay? And really give them some hands-on experience. Everything cannot be read this, write this, read this, write this, right? Let them learn by using their hands. This is actually true across generations for folks that are more kinesthetic learners, right? Some of us understand what that feels like. Like, don't tell me how to do it. Just show me and let me do it, and I will get there. Digital first. Gen Z is digital first. They grew up in a world where everything was already digital. So there wasn't a learning curve on it. It was, they pick up a new technology super, super fast because they've had to their entire lives. New apps come out constantly, new tech comes out constantly, right? And that's just their native world. Wait till alpha gets here. Oh my goodness. I'm not gonna be able to keep up. It's gonna be great. Let them lead projects, but they're going to need really regular check-ins, okay? As leaders, you will have to check in with them really often and say, how are you feeling? Are things on track? How do you know? Because they'll tend to go with their gut instead of evidence or data. And so you're gonna wanna ask, how do you know that things are going well? By what evidence, right? Visible impact. They want to have real world change. They want to be able to grow personally. They want to make the world a better place in a really, really powerful way. So again, aligning your company's vision, being clear about what your impact is in the world is going to be important. Social justice and environmental sustainability. It's a good thing they're thinking about this because for a long time we didn't, and we kind of made a mess of the world, right? So this generation is trying really hard to kind of right the ship in terms of, do we care about the world that we're living in? Are we thinking with those sorts of ideas in mind? Are we planning with those ideas in mind? Really inclusive, diverse communities at work, peer-to-peer recognition, sometimes slightly less a program-wide recognition plan system strategy, but really more like, gosh, Eowyn, thank you so much for handling that crazy problem that we had yesterday. Digital collaboration and social impact initiatives. This is a ton of content. You have the paper in front of you. And if you have any questions about specific strategies, reach out to your TOC. They're really smart. They've done a lot of work with great people, and they can help you with that, or send me an email that I'm happy to toss around some strategies that are really specific with you. So, discussion. How can you tell when your employees are motivated? How do they motivate one another? And is there something that you're taking away from today that you're going to try to employ in this next little while?
So I'll just start. So it's a lot of the topics you have here, a lot of great ideas and different methodologies on trying to identify the person. Years ago, we come up with a strategy on not just having a developmental plan for our upper leadership, but all the way down to the hourly worker.
Yeah.
So a process that we started years ago that's showing great success is when we're doing an interview, before we even hire the applicant, we explain to them that as a new employee for the first 90 days, the entire administrative team has a weekly meeting on that person specifically, identifying these are your goals, these are your targets. Are you ahead of the game? Are you achieving more? Or if you're not, what can we provide you? What can we get you to increase your skill set? That I've shown helps empower them and shows them self-worth. When we give them an offer job, they're excited to come work for us. They quickly see that we have a very structured, we have a mission statement, we have values that we live by. We have bi-weekly meetings as a complete plan with department heads and stuff like that. But the department heads and the department assistant leads are taught to teach and talk to their individuals daily on the shift. Where are they struggling? What are their strengths? Identifying their levels of communication, much like you're talking about with different generations here. Because I do have some employees that if I give them a piece of IT equipment, they're going to look at me like,
no, thank you.
Kids that come in there and I'm like, hey, do you know how to work this for me? I may know how to work it, but I'm giving them the empowerment to show the boss that, hey, I can knock this out for them. And give them the feedback. And then giving them that structure, they have a developmental plan. Every tier knows what level they have to be at. If they want to make more money, what level of responsibility they have to achieve. I don't have a timer So there's not that constraint of, I gotta be here 3 years before I can advance. Hey,
Yeah.
once you pass your 90-day probation period, I want you to go from beginning level all the way up to administration.
Yeah.
We've had, I think around in the last 10 years, 19 people start from the bottom and progress up where we've actually moved out to other plants across the company. And
That's
become
awesome.
high-level managers or production managers or
You're like the national farm system.
yes.
That's great.
So I really like a lot of the content, some of the books that I've seen before and great theories. I think the biggest thing is to be transparent with your employees and be able to get the same transparency back. If you have leaders in place, and I'm talking like a lead or a manager or a supervisor, and they lack the ability to communicate effectively with their people, you're not going to get the proper input that you need to make correct decisions on whether you top grade that person or the people underneath them.
Yeah.
That helps us as leaders.
Yeah, I love it. I think if you don't have a place where your employees feel safe giving you critical feedback, your culture's not there yet, right?
One last thing, we do a survey every 6 months, and it goes all the way. We developed this a couple years back, and is now corporate-wide. Our CEO absolutely loved it, where we give the brand new employee all the way up to the most tenured person, and it's all about the leader and the other leaders in there. And it comes back with positive. This is where you scored as far as this, and this is what you need to work on.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's been pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, it's eye-opening, but so beneficial. If you only ever give positive, like, great job, great job, great job, great job, how are they growing, right? And people want to grow. I also think that younger generations do kind of a better job at accepting critical feedback, which is a beautiful thing to work with. When you have folks that want to grow and they're willing to be humble and say, yeah, I know I have a need to grow there, right? I would totally recommend that you ask your people, what am I doing that makes your job harder? What am I doing that's making your job more difficult for you? Or what can I do to kind of get out of your way or help make that happen, right? Thank you so much, Dave. Really, really good feedback. Okay.
One quick thing, because
Yeah.
that really opens my eyes. On a county level, we're probably behind in this. We do a 90-day probationary period, and a lot of times it's like we're sitting back with a bowl of popcorn going, let's see what they screw up. Like, we don't even take an opportunity to succeed. We need to do better at that.
Yeah.
And I tell people when we hire somebody, nowadays there's not 1,000 people in Beaver County looking for a job. We know that. So when we interview them, they're also interviewing us.
Yes.
They're looking to see if they want to come to work for us. So if we don't have some of these programs to help them succeed,
Yeah.
they'll find somewhere else to go.
For sure.
And I love the idea of taking critical feedback from them, not just giving it to them, taking it from them to see what we can do different to be better.
Yeah, and if you ask the question the first time and they're like, nothing, you're perfect, you know that they don't feel safe there yet, right? That's a clue to you. That is feedback to you. They don't actually feel safe giving me the real goods. So how can we fix that? How can we work toward it? And it's a process. It's always an ongoing process. Workplace culture doesn't happen overnight, right? Workplace culture takes a long time to develop.
On the farm side, we just scream at each other until we solve the problem.
Or throw things. Okay, today's teamwork. The survey has 3 questions. How does it look and feel when you are motivated at work? How do your team members motivate one another? And how motivated at work are you currently? So if you are an Academy member, you will get a report back. Your employees get to give you their feedback anonymously. You get a summarized report back so you can kind of get the temperature of what's happening within your team. We hope that this helps you when you're trying to take an honest look at what's going on with your culture, right? Please take it yourselves as well. It's for your team, it's for you, it's for everybody. Everyone can take it. And actually, for my special guests, I would love for you to take it too. That would be kind of cool to get that information back from us. You won't get a report, but I would still be interested to see your information. Join the Academy to get your team report. And then if you're working with the TOC, I would really recommend that you assess your employees' motivation and make a plan to leverage mastery, autonomy, purpose. Really think about it in that frame. What are we doing to allow them opportunities for mastery? How much autonomy are we giving them? How much purpose do they feel, right? What are the relational factors in our team? And what's the social collaboration plan look like for our folks? And then have a recommended on-site discussion. Really talk to them about how do we work together to keep our team motivated. We have changed our system just a little bit. That QR code will give you access to the teamwork from April forward. So when you log in, the first thing you'll see is what teamwork are you doing? April's teamwork, May, June, July. So have your people pick the right. Huh? Yes, yep. Should be there too. Okay. As always, Business Leaders Academy, attend 8 sessions, one of them face-to-face. Thank you for traveling with us today, Connor, to get your face-to-face. Very much appreciated. Complete 8 of those teamwork activities that you'll get the report for to improve your workplace culture and read the book with us. We will pay for you to come to One Utah Summit. For One Utah Summit, the Leadership Day that we are sponsoring is October 6th. It's called Emergence, a Changemakers Gathering, and we would love to see you there. So please join us for that day, October 6th at One Utah Summit in Cedar City. And if you'd like to earn your worksite certification, you work with the TOC. Susan is here. She's happy to talk to you about that, and she is a miracle worker. She is fantastic. That's the QR code for teamwork. This is the QR code to register for next month's event in Kanab, or to sign up to earn your badge if you're interested in that. And we will be talking about project management next month. Thank you for joining us for Future Ready.